Hello world, I am Curtis Simpson, and this is Jectives Typography News number 58. Today is June 19th, 2026, and per usual, I have plenty of typography news to get into today. I have a lot of stuff. We have Typographics 2026 coming up Monday. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But we have new color fonts from Adobe Originals. We have a preview of the new release coming from Grilli Type. I do have a beta of that. I'm going to show it off before the release. Futura monospaced coming out of Paratype. And then we have 7 more new releases: Optimo, Apex Type Foundry, Dalton Maag, Patio Foundry, ECAL. I'm not sure if it's ECAL. I always say that in my head. ECAL, Typefaces, DualType, Contemporary Type. And then we've got 3 cool articles, one coming from MCKL, one coming from Type, and then one coming from Pimp Type. And then at the end, I'm also going to talk a little bit about some meetings that I had this week. I went to an info session for a course taught by Dr. Frank E. Blockland. That was pretty cool. First time meeting him. That was nice. And then I also had a phone call with the FontBase founder, Dominique Levitsky. So I'm going to talk about those at the end because they're not necessarily news, but it is stuff that if you care about the channel, you want to know what's going on, I will let you guys know at the end with that. I do want to start out the episode saying just a follow-up on my criticisms last week of the Type Electives curator position that was open. I don't necessarily, my feelings haven't really changed about it. I still think that $600 for what it is not very much. But if you didn't see this last episode, you could skip ahead. Chapters are added in the description soon after the live stream ends. But I was a little bit critical of an open call for a curatorship. And Stephen Coles gave me some feedback on that, whom I respect his opinion quite a bit. And I don't necessarily take back what I said, but in the sense of trying to be a better journalist, in the sense of trying to be a journalist, period, I do think that my biggest goal, I don't believe that it's possible to be entirely objective. I do my best to state objective facts and then be very open and very clear when I'm being subjective. I think it's pretty obvious most of the time, and I was very obvious. I said, like, I'm going to be really subjective here. But the other thing, aside from, trying to be perfectly objective, which is not possible, what I think is more achievable is being fair. And while I think it's fair to critique, I do think that I should probably, it shouldn't be a surprise to someone if they're going to get criticism like that. So I haven't talked to Type Elective since then. They didn't reach out and complain or anything like that. But I do kind of feel like if I'm going to be critical of something like that, I should probably reach out to get a comment before I do that. That just seems like good journalism. So everything here is iterative. I'm trying to get better. Hopefully you guys can stick around until I get good enough at this. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. I want to do a quick look at this website before we get going here. And this website is created by Victor Newbell, goes by the title Working with Type. I'll go ahead and keep my face on here. Goes by the name of title of Working with Type. And this is just a cool website. I have Win Compose down here, and then on when I boot into Fedora KDE, there's just automatically I can easily type in all of these characters, what I'm trying to say. So I don't necessarily have a great use for this website, but it's still pretty cool, and I think maybe some of you would like it. This is called Characters. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. With all of these random characters in it, but it's called Characters. And you can go up here on the top right and you can change it. Right now by default, it's the German Mac, but you can change it to Windows, so that would work for me. And then it tells you how to type in these different characters, and they're showing it to you right now in this few sentences, or maybe it's one sentence or a paragraph or whatever. And they're showing you how to type in the German quote marks or the English quote marks or the French quote marks, or how to do like a registered trademark, a copyright mark, these types of things. This is really cool. There are other ways to do this, but it's pretty cool that it shows you how to do it. So you can see on Mac, oh, you can do Mac English right there. So on Mac, you would do like, they have very straightforward shortcuts like Alt 9, Alt 2. For Windows, you have to do Alt and then you do the little code. If you could look in Character Map, you could see those. Linux, they have some similar to Mac where they're just doing Alt this and that. If you're on Windows and you want to do, if you're on Windows and you could get Win Compose, you could just do super and period. Same on Linux. If you're on Linux, you can do super and period, and it'll let you kind of do these things in a more interesting, more intuitive way. But this is pretty cool. And you might thinking like, okay, that's cool. But you can also do the overview right here, and it gives you a much more clean version to do these. So you can see all the characters right here. You can kind of go through them, and it'll give you the shortcuts for it. So not a big news story or anything, but it was updated this week, and Victor was posting about it on typo.social, so I thought I'd give it a shout out because I wasn't familiar with this before. So if you guys were, there it is again. If not, maybe this will be useful to you if you don't use Linux or something like WinCompose, or you don't know all of your shortcuts. Next up, the last time we're going to be talking about this until we're doing our coverage next weekend. But this is your last chance to sign up for Typographics. I'm not sure if that's going to load. Let's go ahead and do the Eventbrite, and we'll see if this one loads in the background. Typographics Conference 2026 is coming up Friday and Saturday. Last week I said like I would be doing like live coverage during the whole thing. I don't think I'm actually going to do that. What I think I'm going to do is follow-up coverage of the event. So when the event ends, this says it goes from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. When the event ends, I will go live and kind of talk about everything that happened during the day. So if you want to join that, or if you missed out and you want to know what maybe is worth going back and replaying, do that. But get the tickets, they're free. I showed how to do this in the last episode. I'm not going to do it again today, but both of these are linked in the description. The Typographics 2026 webpage. It's actually more than just the conference. As you can see right here, it actually starts on Monday. There are workshops going for like the next 10 days, starting on Monday, but the conference will be on Friday and Saturday, and I will be doing live coverage after. We'll do like live post shows after each day. Because it was really cool last year, and I'm excited for it this year. I think it's going to be live streamed on YouTube, but no one has confirmed that yet. The only thing that's confirmed so far is that it will be live streamed via Zoom, and in order to watch that, you need to get the link through the Eventbrite ticket that I've got linked in the description. You can get it for $0, or you can pay, but you can get it for free if you need to. Okay. So let's get into some new releases. I'm going to take my face off so I don't block anything. Boom. Our first one here is coming from Adobe fonts, and this is actually a 3-in-1. Shoot, I need to let that load in the background. Let's go ahead and put this up here for a second. I don't know that we even actually need to go to Adobe fonts to see this. I'll let that load in the background. I'll pull it up. If you have access to Adobe fonts, which you can get access to for $5 a month by signing up just for InCopy, and you pay $5 a month. You don't even have to download InCopy, but you can use your Adobe fonts right here. So they work in Affinity. They work in a lot of apps. You'd have to check and make sure that the ones that you want them to work in. You might recognize these typefaces. These are not new typefaces. Zebrawood, Rosewood, and Pepperwood are not brand new typefaces. But what is new is this right here: Zebrawood color, Rosewood color, and Pepperwood color. So you can see the originals right here: Zebrawood, Pepperwood, and there's even some other ones: Cottonwood, Ponderosa. I don't think that we're going to see color versions of those because they don't have anything inside of them. Whereas Rosewood, Pepperwood, and Zebrawood all have they had multiple layers before. So prior to this, you would layer the fonts. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So here's a preview. These are in the Jectives colors, if you hadn't noticed. I have these set like this because in Affinity, you can customize these. So you can customize your colors. I could change this to red. Boom. I could change, any of these colors to anything ugly that I want to. And it works perfectly. So I did a video, with the 3.2 update for Affinity showing you how you could customize these colors. It's pretty popular on my channel. Go check that out if you don't know about it. But you can customize color fonts in affinity. So these are the three we're going to look at. Let me show you how they used to look before. So here is, I've labeled this one as Halloween, but this is Rosewood. So this is Rosewood right here. It does have a bunch of different colors. Let's go ahead and look at them. Halloween, that's what I've got on here. Avocado, Daphne, kind of ugly, but maybe that's like Scooby-Doo or something. I don't know. Pineapple, Independence, Summer Peach. That's nice. I like that. Ice Baby, Aloe Vera, Sandbox, and Balloon Animal. That's pretty fun. That's pretty circusy right there. Like the names, like these designs and stuff. Previously, this also does have fill and regular, so it has the two typefaces that you would typically get from your standard version, the non-color version, and that's what the orange and the whatever this color is, this super dark desaturated purple. I dropped these from the Halloween version that's on there right now. If you take the fill and you overlap it with the regular one, it looks like I might have dropped my stream. Hopefully that's not the case. If you overlap the regular with the fill one, you will get this one on the bottom. So this is what you could get before. And this is why color fonts matter so much, because you can customize way more than you could before. You can see there are 3 colors in this one. There are only 2 colors on this one. Both look nice, and you could still get this one if you wanted to. So if I went in like this, I could just eyedrop that purplish color and boom, I could get the original if you wanted. If you just want 2 colors still, you can still just do 2 colors. But it's pretty cool that you have the color font option now. And if you're using Affinity, you can edit these. You're not stuck with just like the 7, 8, 9, whatever custom colors they give you. You can set them up to be whatever you want, and you can get nice little objectives colors like I've got here. So that was Rosewood. This one here, probably a little bit hard to read, but some of these wood fonts kind of are. This is the Parade version. So there are different colors for this one as well. I'll go ahead and show you. Here's the regular, that's the fill. This is the outline. So you can do just the fill or just the outline. But they've got Twilight, Hummus. Let me go ahead and zoom in on this a little more so you can see the colors. We've got Twilight, Hummus. That's nice. I like that one. Salsa, Parade, Limeade, that's fun. Pumpkin Spice, Medium. I don't know why that would be called medium. Yellow Pepper, Regular, and Chili and Doll. That's kind of cool. Regular is just all white. That's interesting. Oh, Regular is the regular one. So fill, outline, regular. So regular has fill and outline. This one actually works exactly the same. So you can see the top and bottom there. They are identical. I've got the regular right here and the fill. The one thing that you could do, maybe, let's try this real quick. Let's put this on top of this. Will this, I think that's going to color up all of them. Yeah, so whether you use the fill or you use the outline, you will get the same result if you use the same colors there. So not as quite as unique of colors as you could get with Rosewood, but the benefit is still there of not having to edit this, because let's say I wanted to put 200 years of USA. Oh no, now I have to do this with both of my fonts. So then you have to go in and you have to edit both of them. Whereas if you're using the color fonts, you know, boom, it all just works. So that's a beautiful thing about color fonts. You don't have to layer them. You don't have to do any of this nonsense, and you can get more colors. Zebra wood right here, I labeled this one correctly. This one here is called Flag, I think. Let's check the colors on zebra wood. So we've got, let's get zebra. Let's just get it nice and big. Zebra wood has the fill. This has eucalyptus, cactus, rodeo, acid tomato. That one's the most fun for sure, but it's not the easiest to read. Gravedigger, love this. I like all the shout outs or all the homages and stuff they're doing here. Gravedigger, ice skates, admit one, that's fun. Frosted cookies, that would look better on like a dark background, but let's not bother with that now. Regular gives you everything stacked together, the fill and the regular. Or no, it's just going to be see-through. So let me show you this. If you did this one, it's actually see-through. So that's how you're going to do your layer there. Regular would be the top layer. We got Flag, that's what we're looking at today, and we've got Popcorn. Popcorn's kind of fun too. So let's set this back to Flag. And then you can see the same thing that we saw with Rosewood, we're seeing here with Zebra Wood, where you have 3 different colors that you can choose from now. Whereas before you only had the 2. So if you layered them, you know, you'd only have the 2 different colors there. So yeah, Once again, you could change that white up there in zebra wood to the navy blue that's down here in the original, but I think just having options is nice. And it's nice to see Adobe putting out color fonts of some of their originals. And it's nice to see that they play nicely with Affinity and you can properly edit these. Maybe someday Adobe will be able to edit their own typefaces or Adobe users will be able to. But for now, you can do it in Affinity. Affinity's free. Or no, you couldn't use DJR's tool because you can't take Adobe fonts on there. So yeah, your one option for being able to actually edit these, as far as I know, unless Adobe updated in the last month or two, is to change these colors in Affinity. So there you have it. Adobe Originals wood color fonts. There are 3 new ones right there. And if you have a Creative Cloud subscription, you will have access to those right now. Next up is a preview from Grilli Type. Let me go ahead and show you their Instagram post, and then I'll show you the real deal. This one is called GT Linear, and this is the preview they're giving to you. It says, get in line, it'll be worth the wait, coming sooner than you think. This is a geometric sans serif, as you might, as might be very obvious. But it's actually doing something a little bit different. It's not, ooh, that's a nice @ symbol. I didn't necessarily look at that. As you can see right there, it's a variable. But they're giving a lot of details and stuff right here, aren't they? Look, they even show you the inside of glyphs. I clearly did not click through all of these, but I do have it in Affinity, so there's no need to do that. I've got some stats for you. This is a beta, so I have the beta license for this one. That's how I'm showing to you this early. I have a beta version of it, so these things are all subject to change. I wouldn't expect them to change dramatically, but they will possibly change. Grilli Type, this is the designer right here, Lorenzo Poderini. Hopefully I'm saying that kind of right. 10 weights, it's variable. Somewhere between, about 480 glyphs on this. Some of them have 473, some go up to 492. 13 open type features on this one. It's a beta only right now, no trial. Price is to be announced. Let me go ahead and show you the weights on this. Go ahead and show you with the variable slider here. It can go from laser. So laser is their super their super light version. They went with a playful name, Grilli Type, going with playful names here. They go from laser all the way up to black, or no, all the way up to ultra. And the thing you might notice right off the bat is that I right there. So let me go ahead and show you this with the I and the J. Those are some very interesting tittles, some very interesting dots, punctuation. And you can see they are very skinny, they're very, they're very narrow and they're very tall, and they match the stroke width perfectly. Let's go ahead and do an A to Z on this real quick. Not a deep dive or anything. Maybe we'll do one when the font officially releases, but see if you can notice the things that I notice. There are some vertical stroke endings, or not vertical, horizontal stroke endings on here, which is much more reminiscent of something like Helvetica than it is something like Futura, which is, kind of the king of geometric sans serifs. Anytime, look how wide that Y is. Wow. The ampersand here is pretty interesting as well. Let me go ahead and show you this. I got to zoom out a little bit because the lines are going to move. But as we go make it thinner, look how weird that looks right there. But then when you get super heavy, it fills out and it seems much more normal. So I kind of feel like it's hiding a little bit of a secret in there at the heavier weights, but it's fun, it's playful. Shout out to oh my goodness. Sorry, I can't remember my subscriber's name right now. I know his middle name his last name is Girth. Tim Girth? Jim, shout out to Jim. I've got a couple of assets here for you. Grilli Linear is going to have assets for the uppercase and the lowercase. Jim, sorry, I forgot your name for 2 seconds, but I got it. You can see the lowercase here, same thing, geometric sans serif, but there are some elements of what you would typically think of being in neo-grotesque. Okay, let me show you this punctuation real quick. Because these lines this is one of the things that it's doing that's super unique, obviously. But this is the laser weight right here. As we get a little bit heavier on this, you'll see some nice smooth interpolations. It does get wider. It's not like a uni-width typeface or anything like that. But it actually gets a little bit of contrast in some of these quotation marks. So let me read it to you left from right. This is I, J, period, comma, single quote, double quote, exclamation, and question mark. And when you get really thin on this, it just, it just looks like line, 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 line. So I don't know that I've ever seen a period that looks like this, but Grilli Type did it. And let's go ahead and see how this looks in body copy real quick. And you'll be able to see how these periods look. This is the regular weight right here. The period is pretty tall, but I was surprised. We don't necessarily care about the header there, right? I was surprised at how well this works in body copy. That's clean. That's super, super clean. And the periods and the commas and stuff, they're not too distracting. You can see we've got a semicolon right here. Could kind of be confused for an I, probably not in most cases. But it is pretty big and pretty out there. Same with the comma. The commas are pretty big. But I think in context, with the typeface, you would be able to read this fine. And I was really surprised at how well this looks in body copy. Super clean color. It's everything. If you zoomed out, you don't have any dark spots. You don't have any light spots. Great spacing. Just great balance everywhere in this. I was shocked. Just because geometric sans serifs, you don't typically think of it as being a body copy font. But look at this. We've got Helvetica on top, GT Linear in the middle, and then Futura 100 on the bottom. When we look at these three all together, you can see what I mean, how it's taking much more from geometric sans. Sorry, I'm getting a little screen tearing on there. There we go. You can see how it's taking quite a few cues from something like Helvetica or Neo-Grotesque, much more than a lot of the geometric sans serifs we've seen recently, which draw quite a bit from Futura. So I like this kind of sitting in the middle of those two. If you want me to point out a few things, I can, but I think you probably can see, right? It does have an alternate A on it, but even the A right here feels much more like Helvetica than it does a geometric sans serif typically. Same with the M. Avenir, Gotham, they have this style of an M right here as opposed to Futura, but it's doing stuff that feels like a geometric sans serif and a Neo-Grotesque had a baby. And there was another font that was like that recently, but I can't remember what it was. But it's much more sober than a lot of geometric sans serifs. But it's much more geometric than Neo-Grotesques that you're going to typically see. So I like it. I think it fits in a really nice place. I'm excited to see the full mini site when that comes out, so I'll be sure to talk about it again. But for today, hopefully this little bit of a beta preview satisfies you until the full thing releases. They said it's coming very soon. So I wouldn't expect to have to wait too long. Let's look at that ampersand super fast. Let's just delete this. Boom. Oh, look, it must be an alternate because this ampersand right here is the normal one. I did not look at the alternates, but there it is. Boom. That's an alternate. No wonder I didn't come across it. They do have some of your typical alternates. They've got the single story A. They've got an alternate T, an alternate U and stuff. That's another topic for another day, but that A right there that they were showcasing is an alternate A. So that was GT Linear. We got at Linear. GT Linear from Grilli Type coming soon. Another one that I was not expecting this week at all, and I had to double check with Paratype because at first I got it from a newsletter from My Fonts, and I was like, My Fonts, sometimes they send out newsletter and it's not really a new release. It's just maybe new to them or maybe one that they're trying to push. Futura got a monospace, which is, I don't know if there's any Futura monospace. I learned this week that there was a Helvetica monospace. But I was not, I don't know that any other Futura revivals have this, and there it is right here. They've got mono and then they've got mono code, and I'm gonna have to show you this in Affinity in 1 second. Let me get a drink of water. But in case I didn't say it, this is Futura PT mono from Paratype. And Futura PT is, a pretty popular version of Futura. But if you see all the way down here at the bottom, they snuck in Futura PT Mono Book, Futura PT Mono Book Oblique. You can get full trials of this, but you have to use an app called Fontoscope. You can also request them directly from them. Fontoscope is like it's like their version of Adobe fonts, basically. So that's how I got these into Affinity. Let's go ahead and look at these real quick. Fontoscope's free to use. I don't like having all these different like apps for fonts. I like to have just FontBase and Adobe fonts because I need it. But I hope every Foundry doesn't start doing this. We've seen it from Hood Fonts. We've seen it from the Type founders. This one here is called Fontoscope. This is Futura PT Mono. It's interesting. I don't know a lot of stats on it because it literally just released today. Don't know who the designer is because they didn't list it for 2024 update or today's update. But Paratype, 2 styles on this. Obviously the family's much larger, but just the mono, there's 2 different styles. Static, don't know the glyphs, OpenType. You can buy it from the Foundry. You can get the full trial from Fontoscope. Like I said, this app is free to download. Go ahead and do that if you want to test it out. $69 for the Duo on desktop, but don't get it yet. Wait till next week to get it because there's going to be a 30% off launch deal coming. So if you do want this, hold off. The link is still in the description. Set yourself a reminder, and you can pick this up for 30% off. So whatever 30% less from $69 is. But I really haven't had much of a chance to look at this. I definitely want to. I think we'll end up doing a deep dive on this one when we get, 2 weeks from now when we get back from doing our special coverage of Typographics 2026. But this looks wild. We literally just looked at Futura 100 right here. So you can see what Futura typically looks like. You got the really wide A, the really wide M, the really wide O on there. And then you've got some really skinny characters like the I and the J. And it's not a typeface that you would think could easily transition. And I don't think that it was easy to transition this. And you can be the judge of whether this is successful or not, but it's really interesting nonetheless. So these are real assets right here. So once again, Jim Girth, let me know if these are any good. We've got the uppercase and the lowercase there. It's kind of fun to see this in monospace. The J right here is definitely interesting. Let's see if there's an alternate for this J. We have an alternate stylistic set for the A right here. We've seen this before. Oh, we've got the A and the G. So these are ones that we've seen. These are from the original Futura by Paul Renner. They kind of didn't work and didn't end up being alternates in the physical versions. Let's see these right here. Stylistic set 2. Oh, look at that. So you can, wow, that L is wild. Look at that L and the J. Okay, so I'll save this for another day. Let me just see the very last one here. This says stylistic set 3. And that's giving you the M right there. So when I did check the difference between PT Mono and PT Mono or PT Code, the one difference I noticed was that M. So you can do that as an alternate. Another topic for another day. But yeah, it's interesting to see this in monospace. So Futura PT Mono. I think it looks pretty cool in body copy. Don't think it's designed for body copy. I do think it's designed for code and stuff like that. There are not any other weights. Like I said, there is just mono, and then there's the italic version or the oblique version. So you can see design, where I've got design as a closely related craft right here. This line right here has some obliques in it. You can see it's not a huge slant. I don't think that if you were actually coding with this, that would stand out too much for you, but maybe you'd have them color coded and stuff like that. There are some interesting characters and stuff. So you can see the number symbol, the NO right there is monospaced as well. So it fits perfectly with everything else. I would be interested to see this in other weights, but they're probably waiting to see what the reception is on this one. Because it's definitely unique. I have not seen something like this. If you've seen a Futura monospace before, let me know. I would love to go check out another version of this. I wrote review license up here. That's not actually a review license. This is just a full trial license. So this was not provided by them. Anybody has access to this. But that was Futura PT Mono. We've got another monospace right after this. So let me go ahead and get a drink of water and we'll pull up this one from Optimo. Waiting to see if this is going to load. It's looking pretty slow. I'm going to pull this up in Affinity while we wait. I'll give it 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up in Affinity since it's taking a second to load on the website, and we'll come back to it if we can. Our fourth new release this week is coming from Optimo, and this is Antique Legacy Mono. So Antique Legacy is their interpretation of Helvetica, Optimo's interpretation of Helvetica. Similar to like Futura being put into monospace, this is like Helvetica being put into monospace, except this is Antique Legacy, which is Optimo's take on Helvetica. I immediately searched like, is there a Helvetica mono? And yes, there is. Anytime I have a question, fonts in use is the place to go look. I typed in Helvetica mono, didn't get anything. Helvetica monospace, there it is. So let me go ahead and see if I didn't actually click on any of these. I just looked to see if it was there. And then I looked at my fonts. Let me see if we can find the Helvetica mono in here. Ugh, I don't think we're gonna be able to find it. Let's check this one. Oh, there it is right there. I guess that's Helvetica mono right there. So Helvetica monospaced. Sorry. I never knew there was a Helvetica monospaced. It does look like it's working a little bit better than the Futura monospaced, but obviously that's a subjective take. Here it is right here. Let's go ahead and look at these. I've complained about this before. Shout out to my fonts. Shout out to Monotype. I don't know if they listened to my feedback, but they did improve these little carousels right here, because before, these previews right here, you couldn't click on them and look at them. So you just have these teeny tiny little previews. Now you can click on them. They get big. It's like it should be. Helvetica monospaced. I think this works pretty well. And even better is this right here. This is Antique Legacy Mono. And I would definitely love to compare these two together. This is from Optimo, Francois Rapot. Hopefully I'm saying that kind of right. 8 styles on this one. It's static. Not sure on the glyphs or the OpenType features because I have a limited trial right now. You could purchase this from the Foundry for 450 Swiss francs, which come out to about $563. That is a standard license on that one. Let's check one last time if the Optimo website is working. There we go. Very nice. Okay, so we'll look at this super fast before we move on because they do have both of them on here, and I think that it's nice to see what the designer's intent is for you to see, rather than just me showing you stuff. So you can see that's Antique Legacy right there. Looks very much like Helvetica. Let's go to the family overview right here. So the original right here has, what's that look like? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 14 different styles on the original, 8 on this one right here. You can see right there, 4 weights plus italics. Got some OpenType features and stuff going on right here. Everything you'd want for coding, some contextual alternates, things like that. Let me see the about section. So it says right here, yeah, so it's kind of, yeah, it's basically a take on Helvetica, Antique Legacy. Okay, let's go ahead and go back here because I think once we've seen that, that's enough. This will all look pretty familiar, but once again, until this week, I was not familiar that there was a Helvetica monospace. So to me, Antique Legacy Mono is the first time I'm seeing anything in this vein. Obviously, we've seen Neo-Grotesque turned into monospace typefaces before, but I think this one's working pretty well. As far as monospace typefaces, this looks great in this body copy right here. It looks very, it's got the monospace texture to it. It looks like an old typewriter font. These look like they're double spaced, right? Those giant spaces after the period, that is just one space. If I delete this, boom. It's because it's taking up an M square. It's got to be monospaced, so the big period's there. But it does kind of give you that typewriter vibe of like putting 2 spaces after a period. I didn't work too much with the typesetting or anything. I just leave it at the what comes out of the box is what you see here. But you can see the italics stand out pretty well. Type design is a closely related craft. I think that stands out pretty nicely. And likewise, the semi-bold right here for digital age stands out pretty nicely. Let me go ahead and show you this in all of the weights. Oops. Since we do have 4 different weights. So this one is static. So we've got light, we've got regular, medium, and semi-bold. I could see them expanding this because obviously we can see up here, we've got 3 more weights on that one. So we've got light, regular, medium, and semi-bold, missing out on thin, book. I don't know if they'll do a book, and bold. But yeah, I think it looks nice. Let's go ahead and see how this compares to Helvetica. And I don't have Helvetica monospace, so ignore this red one right here. Let me hide that. I put that there because I was going to try to get it and then didn't end up getting access to it this week. But if we do a deep dive on this one, I think rather than a deep dive, this will probably end up in the Helvetica alternates video that I mentioned before. You guys seem very receptive of it, seem to be unanimous that you want to see the Helvetica alternates rather than deep dives on these individually. So Antique Legacy will definitely show up in there, and having a monospaced version with it is definitely a unique feature for it. You could see, let me double check that I've got, that's Atkinson Hyperlegible. I was like, that's not Legacy Mono. There we go. I could tell as soon as I saw that C that wasn't right. Okay, now we've got these 3 on here. I apologize, not sure. I probably just typed A and then, okay, now we've got them all on here. Top there is Helvetica, and then we've got Antique Legacy. Let's go ahead and look at these 2 side by side so you can see the similarities between them. Obviously, the lowercase is much wider. You can see the Z's don't quite line up. So the lowercase on Legacy, Antique Legacy is wider, which I think is more legible. Let's not do a super deep dive on this as much as I'm tempted to. You can see they're pretty similar. And then we can see Antique Legacy compared to Antique Legacy Mono, and you can see a lot of those characteristics carry over. But then we're getting, look at the I and J here, very neo-grotesque. Look at the I and J here, very monospaced. So you can see they're carrying over some elements, while others, need to be a little more traditionally monospaced to fill out that space. Yeah, you can see the Q gets quite thin there, which is interesting. And then you've got the dotted 0 on there let me see if that's the default. Yeah, that's the default because I only have the trial. So yeah, the default for the monospace does have the dot in it. So Antique Legacy Mono, I think that's it for that one. Yep, Antique Legacy Mono. That one's coming from Optimo, Francois Rapot. And it's pretty interesting. I think it's a nice expansion to Antique Legacy, and it does kind of set it apart from a lot of these other Helvetica inspired neo-grotesques that we see releasing. It gives it just a little bit something else to work with, which is always nice. Next up, we have one from Apex Type Foundry. Not sure why these pages are loading. Oh, I think there's supposed to be a video or something there. Okay. Our 5th new release today is from Apex Type Foundry. This is a single style typeface, but man, does it have a lot of character. You can see those big bowls on there. So you see this R here has got a big bowl on it. That's the first thing that I noticed. The A was the second. There is some really characterful stuff going on here. And I think when you look at this in Affinity, you will agree that this is just a beautiful typeface. I don't know the word for it. Bulbous is what comes to mind, but I'm sure that's not the most attractive word to use. It does have some alternates here. We're definitely going to do a deep dive on this one in the future. But you can see alternates for the R, alternates for the M, go from the splayed to not, the Q, and the J. You can drop below the baseline or not. They all look great to me. I am going to ask the designer a question about the licensing when we do the full deep dive. But let's go ahead and look at this in Affinity real quick, and I can show you this a little bit closer. So this is Oratorio from Apex Type Foundry, single weight, like I said, just regular. We'll do an A to Z in just a second. Apex Type Foundry, Alex Chabot. Hopefully I'm saying that right. One style, static, 789 glyphs. Quite a high count. Another high count here, 33 open type features. You can purchase this from the Foundry, which, like I said, is Apex. Full trial available. So that's what we're looking at today. $80 on desktop. I put a little star there, and that's because it's not a standard license. The video and logo are separate. So you don't get to use this for video or your logo. but $80 for the desktop license otherwise. This is a full trial license. That's what we're looking at. Let's go ahead and do an A to Z on this. We don't need to check weights. There's no variable slider. But Jim, check it out. We've got assets on both of these once again. This is pretty fun. There are a lot of alternates on this. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you look on the left, you can see my typography panel. It is full. Let me hide the irrelevant features real quick. Still very, very full. There's a lot going on here for the single style typeface. Let's go ahead and do a quick A to Z on this one because I think it's worth it. You can see there's a pretty decent amount of contrast on here. We saw that there's an alternate J. I can show you some of these as we go through, I guess. Alternate J right there, boom. K, very high, like, I'm not sure if that'd be called a waist, but the very high waist on that K there. The M, that's the default right there, but we can get the splayed legs on that with an alternate. But I really like this. The P right there, interesting that the P doesn't have an alternate while the R does. So let me go ahead and show you the P and the R at the same time. They're very cohesive right here. They look like they go together, but the R can change, whereas the P cannot. That's another interesting thing that I'll probably ask Alex about for the deep dive. But for now, you can only change the R. You can also change the Q though, get a nice long tail on that Q, which is always fun. Glad that the default has the short tail and the alternate has the long one. Some typefaces have that long tail on the default, and man, you're gonna turn it off 90% of the time, probably even more. Asset right here, the uppercase. Jim, let us know if it's any good, or any other German speakers, readers, let us know how that looks. You can see the spacing between the W and the V there are kind of crashing into each other. I'll go ahead and throw a space on there. That's a default kerning though. You can see it looks very nice. There's some bracketing between these, you know, where the legs are crossing here. A lot of bracketing on it, even inside of the Y, you know, in all these different places. You see the bracketing inside of all of these these crossing points here as well. I think that's one of the things that makes this feel so rounded, is all of these the brackets that are on there. Everything feels so fluid. I don't think that there's an alternate for this lowercase a. No. So there's only those alternates that we showed you for the uppercase right there. But let's go ahead and go through this lowercase real quick. Definitely some interesting things. I could see this being a very popular typeface. It's just got a lot of character. You know, you're only going to get so far with it with a single style, but man, with 789 glyphs, 33 open type features, this is pretty packed for a single style typeface. There it is right there. Let me go ahead and show you this in body copy. I think it looks great in this headline right here. That's probably how you're going to use it. But it's not horrible in body copy. I've got the default line spacing letting on there right now. Let me go ahead and space this out for you just a little bit. Probably not that much, something like that maybe. With a little bit more line spacing, I could see this being legible for short passage. I wouldn't want to read a paragraph in this. I wouldn't want to read, you know, more than this paragraph. I could get through this paragraph if I had to, but I think you're more so doing like super short passages. You know, you could write a poem in this maybe if your poem had short lines to it, but I think you're typically going to be using this for a display typeface. It's got a lot of character. But there's some fun stuff going on here. Hopefully we'll do a deep dive in this in 2 weeks. We'll see how things go. You never know. It might be something even crazier coming out. But my plan right now is to do a deep dive on this. This was Oratorio from Apex Type Foundry. Next up, we've got one from Dalton Maag. So what are we up to? Number 6, I think. Our 6th new release this week is coming from Dalton Maag, and it is Kio. Let me make this nice and big for you. Kio. I reached out to the type designer, Daverson Ribeiro, Brazilian, it is pronounced Kio. I asked if it was Ko or Kio. It's Kio. As you can see right there, get a free trial license on this. The trial license is full, so we're going to be able to look at this in all of its glory. This sent me down a rabbit hole, and do I have my link? Yes, I do. I reached out to Peter Rupschel over at Dalton Maag. He's been my point of contact for a little while now, Anytime I have questions or anytime I have questions, Peter gives me the answers. So thank you, Peter. He sent me this link right here, which is for FE Script, which is a license plate font. So if you are international, not in America, you might recognize this. I see something very similar to this in Brazil. This was designed after like some terrorist attacks, I think, in the 70s. Where license plates were being fraudulently made, counterfeited. So the solution was to create these very unique glyphs here that would be difficult to turn one character into another. So say you want to turn the O into a Q or a 0, all three of them look very different. It's pretty similar to something like we would think of with like the hyperlegible, except these need to be even more unique because they need to not be able to be turning one character into another. How much is this a problem in real life? Probably not that much anymore. But Peter did say this is not conceptual. This is like a real thing. You can use it for documents. And specifically in the real world, it is used for license plates. So what we're looking at today, though, is Keo, which is Dalton Maag's fresh take on it. And I do think it's a little bit more pleasing on the eyes if we just tile these next to each other real quick. I do think that Dalton Maag's new release here is quite a bit more pleasing than FE Script. We're also talking about a typeface that was designed, 40 years later, so they've had the benefit of time. And I also don't know how these two would stack up from the utility standpoint. But in my opinion, Dalton Maag's new release here, Keo, is much more attractive, much more pleasing on the eyes. They've got some nice specimens here. They typically do have nice specimens. This is just a single style as well. Let me go ahead and pull this up in Affinity, and we will look at it there now that we've got an idea of what this one's doing. Keo right here. No lowercase on this one, only uppercase. This is from Dalton Maag, like I said. Daverson Ribeiro, one style, it's static, 467 glyphs, 9 open type features. You can buy this from the Foundry, which, like I said, is Dalton Maag. Full trials on this, so go ahead and check that out, and you'll be able to check out everything we're looking at today. $42 on desktop with the standard license. And here it is right here. Let's go ahead and do an A to Z on this because these are going to be pretty unique. They're not going to look like one another. You're not going to be able to turn the E into a B. If you can see, they're quite different there. What this reminded me of at first glance was my favorite typeface, which is going to be ridiculous, but my favorite typeface is OCR-A. And I'm going to show you that side by side. This is much more, once again, much more pleasing to look at than OCR-A is. I don't know how well this would work for machine readable stuff, but I did read that FE Script turned out to be quite good at having like cameras read them and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons why they use them. Counterfeiting is not quite as big of a deal, but having machines be able to distinctly tell the characters apart. Just one asset on this because we've only got the uppercase, but I wanted to point out that it does have the IJ. So anybody from the Netherlands here, if you type an I and a J, it gives you the ligature there. Obviously, we can turn that off. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Boom, boom. Question mark, exclamation point. All of these doing unique things. So the S, your S, yeah, I mean, but who cares if you could turn an S into a $, right? We're getting a little bit in the weeds here. This one is not going to work in body copy at all, so I didn't even bother, but it looks nice in headlines. I do think it gives like a unique character to it. Is this monospaced? I didn't even pay attention, but it kind of looks like it is, doesn't it? I think it is monospaced. Yeah, so we're looking at a monospaced typeface here. And I'll go ahead and show it to you in body copy. It doesn't look good, guys. It doesn't look good. But if you wanted some texture and you wanted to get really weird with it, you could do that, I guess. There it is right there. Don't do this. That doesn't look good. But I think it does work well as a caption. And then I think even more important, all of these specimens that they put here, I think these kind of things look great. We've referred to this recently as interfacing or interface fonts, stealing that from MassDriver. But interface typefaces where you're kind of looking at like a little bit, sorry, I was trying to zoom in and out and it wasn't working. Anytime you're looking at like little things like this, like plane tickets or things like that, and official documents even makes more sense here. So I think that's pretty cool. This is it compared to OCRA. So you'll probably recognize this if you didn't know what I was talking about. OCRA, this was a typeface that was meant to be read by machines. Optical, what is the optical? I can't remember what the C stands for now. But you can see it's human readable, but it's also machine readable, and that's what it was originally designed for. It's been expanded a few times. I'm not sure. This might be an expanded. Yes, is OCRA extended. I love this typeface. It's so dumb, but I do. And here it is compared to Daverson's Dalton Maag's version here of a similar typeface. I think it's those angles. Like, look at this G right here and compare it to this G up here. I feel like there are some inspirations here. I did not ask about this, but to me, there are just a few different things that kind of feel like maybe there's a little bit of inspiration from here. But I'm here for it. I like it. And I do think that in terms of like a readable typeface, I think that this uppercase here is much more pleasing on the eyes. Obviously now OCRA has been expanded. It has lowercase, so it's got it beat there. But if you just needed an uppercase and you wanted something that kind of had that vibe, but maybe was a little bit more pleasing on the eyes, I think Keo from Dalton Maag could fit the bill there. Yeah, so it's a fun rabbit hole to dive down. Go check out the Wikipedia. I didn't link it, but go check out the Wikipedia for FE script, and you will see all the places that have used this this here. Oh, you can actually see, here's one of the things they were trying to prevent. So it's pretty staticky. That's not your screen, it's mine. But you can see the PFB here, and they're trying to turn it in. Before, you could turn this into these characters here, but with the very specific, gosh, how should I say this? With the way that the characters are designed, you can't actually turn it into the other characters. The red line there is somebody attempting to do that, and it doesn't work because it doesn't match the bottom line here. And so that's the same problem that Keo is solving from Dalton Maag. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This was Dalton Maag's new release from Daverson Ribeiro, and it is Keo. Next up, we've got one from Patio Foundry. I apologize if I say the name of this font wrong, because I did many times in my head as I was preparing for this. This is, I'm not sure what number on. This is the new release from Patio Foundry, and it is Sonanta. We have two styles on this one, not just one. You can see the italic right there on Flamenco. It's coming from Patio Foundry. Patio Foundry is the spinoff of Optimo. So they've got a great license, great pricing. I don't know that anybody in the industry beats Optimo on pricing. Their prices are crazy. They've got this great name your price option. So it's always very affordable, and they do great quality work. I'm slow scrolling through this right now so you can get a vibe check, because just everything that they're showing you right now is going to be better than what I'm going to show you in Affinity. I just have the limited trial license. I paused here so you can see these alternates for the A and the O here. There are a few different characters that have those alternates. If you look at the lines, the subheads right below it, you can see even more characters that kind of have those lines going across it. Look at this uppercase E, or the uppercase M in Amigo. You can see that they've got those serifs kind of bleeding into one another. They're really stretching them out there. It's pretty cool. So there's Sonanta regular and Sonanta italic. I am going to pull this up in Affinity, so we'll see that in just a second. But it's really interesting. There's part of me when I first saw this, when I saw that headline, I was like, man, I'm kind of getting sick of these high contrast, swash heavy, ligature heavy, editorial typefaces. We've seen thousands of them, it feels like, in the last few years. But this one managed to get my attention once again. It's doing something unique, and it's hard to argue with the value on this one. This one's 15 euros for the family. I know it's only a duo, but 15 euros for the family on this one. And there's a lot going on. I don't have all of the glyph counts and all of the feature counts and stuff, because I do just have the trial on this one. But I'm going to show you what I've got. And I think that even seeing this here, and we saw some of those alternates on the webpage, I think that you'll agree this is well worth the 15 euros with a great license on this one. So I don't have a lot of stats here for you, but Patio Foundry, unknown designer, 2 styles, static, not sure on the glyphs or the OpenType features. Like I said, you can buy it from the Foundry for 15 euros or name your price so you can pay a little bit more if you want to give them some more support. Limited trial license on, or limited trial and a great license on this one. We can look at those in just a second if I remember. But yeah, so we're going to be looking at the trial license, which is limited right here. I don't have any alternates or anything like that to show you, so we'll just do a quick A to Z. But it's nice. It's a nice high contrast. I think most of the unique stuff that you're going to be getting out of this is in those swashes and ligatures and all of the extras that you're getting out of this. So this is a pale comparison of what you would be getting if you actually paid your 15 euros and got this. But this is what I've got to show you today. And I think even this alone is pretty interesting. But what really sets it apart is all of the extras, and that's what you would expect from these high contrast, for lack of a better word, high contrast editorial typefaces. Look at that TU. That's not a ligature. That's just perfectly lined up. Wow, that's nice. Even if you didn't read Latin letters, these are just beautiful shapes to look at. That 8's kind of interesting though. Very high contrast 8 there. Okay, I mean, it's all high contrast. Let me go ahead and show you the italic on this real quick. Boom. There we go. We'll just do 2 lines at once here. There's our italic. Looks very nice as well. And I'm going to show you this in body copy. It's not meant for body copy, I don't think, but it can hold its own a little bit for a few lines anyway. Okay. Here we go. In body copy, headline looks great. That's the italic version right there. I've got this set in just, there's only 2 weights, so this is set in regular. And then we've got type design is a closely related craft right here in italic. I think it does a good job of standing out. There is no bold, so we can't look at that. But I think in terms of body copy, it's not the most readable font, but it is very, very legible. It's kind of light in body copy because of that high contrast, but once again, I think you get away with a little bit. I don't think you're going to be setting it like this. I think you're going to be setting it like the headline here. Probably could use a little bit of, this is the default spacing there, but you could probably kern that in quite a bit. Maybe that would look better in the full version. But let me go ahead and show you the license on this one because, man, Patio Foundry, Optimo, they've got the basic license, they've got the enterprise license. Basic is, what we're going to be looking at. This gives you desktop and print up to 5 computers, 1 web license. So you can put this on your website. You get OTF, TTF, WAF, and WAF2 formats, commercial and personal use. Pay what feels right to you, same license included, and you can do this for as cheap as 15 euros or as much as 200 euros. Either way, you're getting a great deal on this. But man, for 15 euros, not an introductory price or anything like that. Optimo, Patio, that's just how they do it. And I've asked them before. I reached out before and asked why they do it. They didn't reply. Maybe they want to keep it a secret. Maybe I got sent to the spam folder. But either way, another beautiful release from Patio Foundry. This is Sonanta. Sonanta? This is Sonanta from Patio Foundry. We've got 3 more new releases here. This next one's coming from, I'm going to say ECAL. Someone let me know the actual right way to say this. I think that it's French, right? Or is this Swiss? No, it's .ch. It's got to be Swiss. I'm going to say ECAL. Someone correct me. ECAL Typefaces. I know that ECAL is a school. No, is this French? Yeah, this is French. I apologize. I'm not sure why they have a Swiss website though, .ch. I'm going to have to do my research. Obviously, I did not do enough on this one. Let me just check real quick. We're going to have to cut this part out. Not going to cut it out, but I'm going to do... Lucin is in France, right? France, right? No, it's in Switzerland. Okay, so the .ch makes sense. I'm going to pretend like we didn't talk about all this and skip this when we get to the chapters. So, I don't know what number we're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. This new release from ECAL Typefaces is Maskots, and this one was originally designed between 2024 and 2026, just released this past week. It's got 8 styles, and it's variable. Let's go ahead and see if we can do the variable on here. I don't see a variable slider, so I guess we're not going to be able to. But you can do all the features here. So this one's designed by Jonathan Brun, Jonathan Bruun. Here's the variable version. Can we do anything with it? Yeah, there's a slider right there. Very smooth interpolation on this one. So it goes all the way down to regular and all the way up to black. There are 8 styles on this. It's variable, like I said. Not sure on the glyph or the feature counts, but you can purchase this from the Foundry ECAL Typefaces. It is 512 Swiss francs, which comes out to about 640 euros. I won't comment on the value out of that one because I don't have a full version of this. But what I can do is show you what I've got. Let me go ahead and go to the regular weight here because they've got some alternates and stuff on here. If we can get them up, there we go. So you can see the A right there. They do have the single story A, very nice. They've got the double story G, once again, very nice. They've got a hooked R. So if you see that R there, let's see if we can make this even bigger. They've got a hooked R. I like how this website just lets you swap all these out. The @ symbol there, they've got the alternate @ the alternate is much more traditional. The default one right here is pretty interesting. I like that. I like that a lot. Circled numbers, just with a single click. Solid circled numbers, squared numbers, or solid squared numbers. Let's look at this in Affinity real quick. And I can give you, I already gave you the stats, but I can give you a close-up of some of these characters. The first thing that stood out to me was this A. Look at that stress on the A. It's really got a bulge in the bowl there, and I think that's one of the things that really stood out to me. The second thing that stood out to me was this uppercase R, because it's got, you know, it's got what we'd almost think of as like the Swiss R, but it's kind of, rather than like kicking out, let me go ahead and swap this out. Let's do another R right here, and let me show you Helvetica. What we would think of as typically that Swiss R, where it's got that little bit of a kick on it. It kind of kicks back inside before it goes back out. So I think that's pretty fun. Yeah, there's some interesting stress and contrast going on with this one in interesting places. I would like to get a review license for this. I've never reached out to ECAL about getting review licenses, so I didn't have time to do that this week. But you can see the A to Z right here. You know, there's some interesting stuff. Pretty tall X height on this. Pretty short ascenders and descenders. Not the shortest we've ever seen, but you know, they're pretty short. Everything looks nice and neat though. I'm not sure about the name Maskots. I'm not sure why it's called Maskots. We can check the website right here. I don't think that the information told us. It says expressive. Let me highlight this. Maybe we'll be able to read it better. Expressive and cheerful yet sturdy and direct. Maskots, the typeface that brings out all of the tricks. I did read that this was inspired by like the advertising typefaces. Let me see if I can find that. Maskots excels in display, returning to its original premise of large-scale design. Yeah, so it was drawing from early grotesques models, the narrow proportions of early grotesques, and that's, you know, that's what it looks like. It's pretty narrow. You can see right there. Let me check the weights on this one. I do have the variable version. Do I? I don't have the variable version. I apologize. I don't have the variable version, but I can still show you some weights. This is regular right here, all the way up to, oh, I do have variable. That's the thing I was going to tell you about this one. I've never seen this before. So rather than have the instances give you all the different weights, the variable is in the same drop down right here with Maskots. Typically you have a separate variable font from your static fonts. This one groups them all together. Obviously, like technically they're all different fonts, but the variable right here, it just has the weights, but you can't select the weights within the variable font. Does that make sense? If I click variable right here, typically I would choose Maskots variable. I'd still have this drop down. I can go through regular. I can go through all these different weights. With this one, you can't. You either select variable or you select a static weight. And if you select variable, then you have the slider and you can do this. very nicely. But what you cannot do is do the static. So you do have to install multiple fonts. You can't just install variable and get all of these different statics. I don't know why these aren't instances. That's something to ask if we end up doing a deep dive on this. But let's go ahead and look at the italic as well. Once again, we've got the weight slider. And you can see that stress in the A. The A really stands out the most to me. It's a nice looking italic font. I like to see a nice, nice bold, nice heavy italic font. And this is as bold as this one gets. There's that R right there. It looks pretty fun. Let's see how this looks in body copy. We've got, what do we got up top here? We've got black up here at the top. See if we can make this even darker. I think black's probably as dark as we get. Black right there. And then we've got the body copy. I think the body copy looks nice. It is quite narrow, as the description pointed out. It is quite narrow, but I think that the italics, they stand out pretty nicely. We see this line right here. Type design is a closely related craft. Stands out pretty nicely. The A, catches your attention in the italic, but I think in the regular body copy, there are quite a few A's in this section that we're looking at right now. I don't think they stand out or anything like that. I don't think it detracts from the readability. The one thing that's going to detract from that is just how narrow it is, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes you want a narrow typeface to be able to fit everything in. You can see this fits the typeface in quite a bit smaller area than most of these examples do. And let me just go ahead and show you digital age in bold right here. So we've got everything's in regular. Let's go ahead and hit it in bold, and it stands out nice and neat. So I think this is a nice looking typeface. I would definitely love to dive into this a little deeper. I'll have to reach out to ECAL and see where they are standing on review licenses. But a nice release from ECAL. Jonathan Brun, we'll say it both ways. Maybe one of them's right. This was Maskots from ECAL Typefaces. We've got two more new releases here. This one's going to be coming from DualType. Gonna let that one load, let this one load. Okay, so our second to last new release here is coming from DualType, and this is on Future fonts. I'll go ahead and give you my spiel. Future fonts are typefaces in progress. They are betas. You can purchase them for a lower price than the full release will eventually be, and you get all the updates for free. So this is $60 for the family, which is a total of 24 styles. 24 styles for 60 bucks on this one. And there's typically a roadmap and things like that, but you'll get all the updates for free. And it's a great way to support typefaces when they're in progress, lets designers know that you actually want the typeface to be developed, and it, helps them live while they're designing. So it's a win-win. This is, like I said, from DualType. This is Jen Ramirez, and it's called San Jose. It says, this project is based on Mike Stevens' hand-lettered interpretation of Optima, particularly the letter forms developed for his poster series for the San Jose Center for the Performing Arts, as seen at the American Sign Museum. Why did I read that? Because, well, that's the inspiration for it. But there's a much longer, see if we refresh this real quick and see if we get the pictures or not. There's a much longer blog post, journal entry, I think is what Future Fonts calls them. And DualType always puts out a journal entry. I love to get all the behind the scenes on them. I apologize, some of these photos are not loading. But the short story, the TLDR on this one is that Jen had seen this in, Mike Stevenson's. He'd seen this in a book before, but it wasn't until he went to the American Sign Museum and saw this in person that he fell in love with it. And I am sorry that most of these are not showing up for you. But go ahead and read that if you are into this. It'll give you a much more in-depth description about the inspiration for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and click through some of these. I apologize, they do load a little bit slow on Future Fonts, but if it takes too long, we'll just go over to Affinity, which I think that's what we're gonna do. There's an ampersand right there, pretty fun. Yeah, let's go ahead and hop into Affinity because these are super high quality. That's why they load so slow. But we've got San Jose right here from DualType, Jen Ramirez. Let me go ahead and give you some stats on this. I am using the free trial right now. It's display only, so I don't have all of the styles. I don't have everything. Let me go ahead and tell you what it has, and I'll show you what I can show you. DualType, Jen Ramirez, 24 styles total. That's going to be 8 weights across 3 optical sizes. There's standard, display, and poster. I only have display to show you. It is static, 184 glyphs right now. Like I said, this is the beta, and it could also be that the trial has less characters. 7 OpenType features on this. You can purchase it from Future Fonts, like I said, for $60 for desktop and web combo. There's a limited trial. That's what we're looking at today, and an okay license. But I did read the details, read the fine print for you, and there's no video included. No video included, and on Future Fonts, there's no way to buy a different license, so there's just no video. Maybe you could reach out to DualType. I'm not sure what the restrictions are on that with Future Fonts. But here it is. It looks a little bit like Optima. That is not this IJ right here. That is not a ligature. That's just that's just how it's spaced. It's very tightly spaced. I do have some weights for you, but I only have the display. So there's display, standard, and poster. Display kind of sits in the middle. Standard is going to be the smaller optical size. Poster is going to be a larger one. But this should give you the basics. You should still kind of get an idea of what's going on. We've got thin, extra light, light, regular, medium, semi-bold, bold, and extra bold. Extra bold gets extra bold. Let's go ahead and look at this in, Let's go ahead and look at this in regular. We'll just do a quick A to Z on here. I just want to show you it because you're probably thinking, yeah, that looks like Optima. It's not as quite, look at these little wedges that are on the edges of this. Those terminals are interesting, aren't they? Because they're not like a perfect, see how sharp that is? It's not like a perfect like linear progression or even like a smooth bracketed progression. It's very sharp. That's interesting. You're in your head, at least in my head, I was like, oh yeah, it looks a lot like Optima. And then you see it next to Optima in a second, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that doesn't look like Optima. It does have, a lot of the characteristics, and you can see how this would be Mike Stevenson's version of Optima, but it's almost like a drawn from memory typeface, if I had to guess. There we go, right there. Interesting number 1 right there. I'm not sure if there's going to be an alternate for that. Probably doesn't necessarily need it, but someone might want it. Let me go ahead and show you this in body copy, and then we'll look at the comparison. I think it looks great in the headline right here. You go either way with this, but I do, I think typically headlines are going to be bold. Body copy, nah. No, I mean, the color is not bad, but the letters are way too tight. The spacing between letters is way too tight for body copy. It's just, Optima would never be a good one. And San Jose right here from DualType is not a good one for body copy either. I'm sure that someone will do this. You could probably get away with small passages, like a line or two. But it's a display font. Maybe the standard would work a little better. We are looking at the display one. I thought this was an interesting @ symbol right here. No, that's not an alternate one. Here we go. I've got this next to, I've got San Jose regular and Optima Roman right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on these. Let me make this as big as I can. You'll probably start to notice differences if you look at the G. I don't want to zoom in and out too much here. So let's look at the lowercase and uppercase G of Optima right here. This is Optima, lowercase, uppercase G. And now let's look at San Jose. And you probably see some key differences. There are a lot of differences like that where they're just all kind of there. Let me go ahead and show you both these at the same time. You can just kind of soak it in for a second while I get a drink. So in your head, they might feel like they're very similar, but then as soon as you see them both at the same time, wow, those are not similar. They do have a similar vibe, but it's quite different when you examine them close up. Once again, we've got San Jose on top. That is the extra bold, and we've got Optima on bottom with extra black. So maybe not the perfect comparison. Let me see if we can make Optima a little bit lighter. Let's just go black on this one instead. So you can see this is the display version of San Jose on top. So I think that the spacing would probably be a little bit closer to Optima's on the bottom here. But I don't have different optical sizes for Optima, unfortunately, so I'm not even sure if they do exist. But you can see quite a few differences in these, especially the numbers. These figures look quite different from one another. They both have character, but in, much different ways. They're handling almost all of these glyphs differently. So it's pretty interesting to see because it is, one of those things where I keep repeating myself, but when you see San Jose at first glance, you think, oh yeah, that reminds me a lot of Optima. And then you set it side by side and you see all of the different differences and quirks and characteristics and stuff that Jen Ramirez has put into this. So I already gave you the stats on this, so that's going to be it. This is San Jose from DualType. It's available on Future Fonts. If you like this one, go ahead and support it early because the price will go up as the font progresses. One more new release here, and then I've got some articles and a couple of other things to share with you. This one here is from Contemporary Type. And that's not the Contemporary Type website. This one here is. So Contemporary Type, I've got two different links in the description. One is Contemporary Type, and the other is Courage Type. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Courage? Probably Courage. Courage Type. Courage Type is the designer of this. Courage Type is Anna Courage. And I'm going to say it both ways, Karash, and maybe one of them's right. But Anna designed this for Contemporary Type, so it's released through Contemporary Type despite having her own Foundry. You can only purchase this from, on the two websites, you can only purchase it from Contemporary Type, so that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to refer to this being as released from Contemporary Type, but you can also go look at it on Karash Type. This is very calligraphic, as you can see. It's also got a backslant. There are 4 different styles on this one, which is interesting because there are 3 that are italic, and then there are 1 that's backslanted. I'm not sure why they don't all have backslants, but I don't know. It's definitely the most unique typeface that we're looking at today. So that's why I saved it for the end, because it's very difficult to go back to like a normal looking at normal neo-grotesque and geometric sans serifs and stuff after you look at something like this. But man, this looks really, really cool. I didn't have a ton of time to dive into this super deep. I could see doing a deep dive on this in the future, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I'm going to zoom in and read the official description here. This says, about the typeface. Loza, hope I'm saying that right. I didn't even say it before, did I? This is Loza from Contemporary Type, designed by Anna Karash. Loza is an italic type family shaped by the mixture of historical models and calligraphic practice. Loza developed into, originally started as an exploration of cursive construction. Loza developed into a collection of independent italic styles, each offering distinctive voice and working both individually and in combination. Interesting. So let's go ahead and look at this in Affinity, where we have a little bit more control over it. Commercial Type does give you a full trial license, so you can download this and test it to your heart's content. Let me go ahead and give you some stats right before we hop into this. Like I said, Commercial Type, Karash Type. I've got Anna right there because she is the designer of this one. 4 styles, static, about 340 glyphs. You know, some of them have a little more, some of them have a little less. 6 to 8 open type features depending on the weight. You can purchase it from the Foundry. Full trial on this one. Don't know why I have a star on that one. Maybe because, I put a star on that because typically Commercial Type does not do full trials. Typically they do limited trials. So I think that this is full because it's got quite a high glyph count if it's only a trial, but I could be mistaken. So I think this is a full trial. 160 euros for the family on desktop for all 4 weights, or also 4 styles. I apologize. Standard license, so desktop, web, and app. Let's go ahead and look at this in all 4 different. Do I have all of them here? Yeah, let's go ahead and look at this in all 4. Di Saberbato, I apologize, it's not. This is Loza. But we've got top to bottom. We've got on the top here, we've got the light italic, then we've got the medium italic, backslant, and black italic. Let's go ahead and look at these all 4 at once, because it said that these were individually developed, but it does look like they're interpolating between one and the other. I could be mistaken. Okay, let's go back to the top. We can look at these A to Z. We've got the medium italic here. Medium italic is already pretty heavy, right? That's a pretty heavy medium. The way that the font was installed, it installed in like 2 different things. There's the light italic right there. There's the black italic. So no, it is. Yeah, that's very distinctly different. I apologize. These are very distinctly different, especially when you look at the light italic versus the black italic. So yeah, these are 4 entirely different fonts. I know they're always technically 4 different fonts, but you know what I mean. These are 4 very different italics. Wow, look at how different that is, going from the light to the black. at first glance, it just looks like a weight thing, but look at the A, look at the C. These are different entirely. That's really cool. So we don't have enough time today to go through all of this, but I'll go ahead and give you a quick A to Z on this. I don't even know how you would start to do a deep dive on this. Jim Girth or any of my Germans, we've got some essets right here. It does look like there's a little bit of an error on this esset. I don't think that little triangle is supposed to be there. So there's something wrong with the rendering on the light italic. Let's check the black italic. There we go. Yeah, these are very, very distinct. Let me go ahead and show you these, because when you see them in that stack like we had it before, they didn't seem so different. But there's the light, there's the black. They definitely feel like a family, but man, are they different when you look at the details. I'm embarrassed that I even thought that they were the same. So this is the medium weight right here. And then this is the back slanted and the medium together. So those, obviously those feel a little bit more the same. But yeah, this is Loza. Hope I'm saying that right. You can see just how dense this is. I would not put this in body copy, but man, does this have some cool color to it. It's so dense. It's like reading an old black letter script. I would 100% set this for the texture alone, as long as it wasn't like crucial to be readable. I think this looks awesome. And you can see I've got the back slanted. Since all of this is italic, it only makes sense to do the back slanted as our typical where we would do the italic. You could do some really, really fun stuff with this. And we've got the light italic up there on the headline. And then we've got the black italic right here. Black italic for our bold. So we're using all four weights, all four styles. I apologize, not even just weights, all four styles here in this one single spread. And man, it's a cool one. I wish that there was a good way to like really dive into this and look at all of the different, the light, medium, and black, and compare the different glyphs and stuff like that. That's just not something I'm prepared to do on a new release announcement. But man, it does have what I think is a full trial. So go ahead and go grab this from Commercial Type and you can test it out yourself. I think this is a really, really fun one. We're only scratching the surface with it. But there's all four of them again right here. Let's see if we can see any of the differences while we're right here. Yeah, I do feel like the medium and the black are a little bit more related. That's probably why I had that vibe. But even if we look at those, look at the P and the Q right here. See the P, the Q, the bottom of it. Let me go ahead and show you this in the heavy. The P and the Q right here, they're very calligraphic, right? You can see it goes over on the left side of each one of these. So the P gets a little bit going over on the left there. Whereas with the medium, you're not getting that on the left there. So there's some very distinct yet nuanced things going on with the different weights. Man, it's really cool. Obviously, the light italic is the most different, but this is really, really fun. So shout out to Anna Karash and Commercial Type, Karash Type. Very cool release. That's going to be the final new release this week. Loza. Hopefully I'm saying that right too. A lot of questions, but a very cool typeface, and you can get the full trial from Commercial Type. Linked in the description, not sponsored, just there for your convenience. We've got 3 articles to look at. We'll go through these quickly. I'm going to get a drink, and I'll turn my face cam on as this loads. Okay, let me turn on my face cam. There I am. Hello, world. So this might look familiar. We had talked about MCKL's release of the Atlantic typeface, and we talked about this Scotch Roman and drawing from the original designs and stuff like that. But we could only kind of speculate and guess as to like where it actually came from, and like where we didn't have a lot of the references that MCKL had, but now we do have these references. Put out an essay here, Designing Atlantic, and it goes through everything. Let's see how much we can zoom in without breaking the website here. it goes through the entire design. So this typeface was originally designed for a 2019 redesign of the Atlantic's masthead, their word mark. But then it got turned into a full typeface release that we talked about in episode number 49, Typography News number 49. So go check that out to see that. But this is a really cool essay, a write-up that has a lot more references and a lot of the stuff that we were hoping to see the first time around. So it's worth looking at it now and giving a shout out, because I love when type designers, when foundries share this kind of stuff, because it really does help. Look at that A right there in walks. That looks so much like the Atlantic A, right? You know, you can see all the places they were drawing inspiration from, all the references that influenced the design. And there it is right there. There's the full type family. And it also had a narrow version of it that was extra narrow, condensed. I think all the Atlantic typefaces were pretty condensed. Yeah, so condensed is the widest that you get. But yeah, go check out 49 if you want to see like the full review of that one. I didn't do a deep dive on it, but we did look at it, and we were kind of marveling over. You could probably pull it up right here real quick. We were kind of looking at this. Oh, it's loading a little slow. Okay, I apologize. We're not going to do that. So we were looking at this before, and now we've got some more answers, some new references. I think that's pretty cool. Check it out, link in the description. We've got 2 more articles here. This one is coming from ARS Type. ARS Type stands for Angus R. Shamal. ARS Type. This is something, you know, this is another one where you're kind of looking back at a project that was designed as a word mark. This was custom typeface for NJPAC, which stands for New Jersey Performing Arts Center in downtown Newark. This was designed for in 2017, and ARS Type designed this for Pentagram. Pentagram reached out to them to do the word mark. It looks really cool. It looks even cooler on the outside of this building. I've never been there, but gosh, after seeing this, I want to. It looks really cool. And the reason this article, this case study is coming out right now is because it's hinting at a new typeface release. So I think we're going to see something very similar to what we just saw with the Atlantic, where a custom word mark, a custom typeface turns into a retail commercial one. What else is cool about this is this is like a full like behind the scenes. You can see all of the different the notes and stuff on here, presumably from Pentagram, as the directors were getting these and giving notes back to ARS. It's really cool to see these notes, and it's cool to see the different options that were there and like what they're scratching out and what they're keeping. It's really neat to see all of these different just all of these different things that they're showing off here. Sorry, I'm paying attention to the baby monitor as I do this. Multitasking here. I can do it all, folks. But yeah, there's a lot going on here. You can see all of the different use cases and stuff. This has been in use for almost a decade now. So it's tried and true. It's been put through its paces. I would expect a very interesting type release coming soon from ARS Type. But for now, the case study, the essay, the article, the blog entry from ARS Type on New Jersey Performing Arts Center typeface that was custom designed with the direction of Pentagram. So very cool. That one's linked in the description as well. And last but not least, we've got an article from Pimp My Type, fellow typography YouTuber. There it is right there. This one, he's so great about doing relevant topics. There's going to be a video coming out in like 2 weeks about this. I think that, World Cup will still be going on, so he'll get some traction from it. But I think if he could put this out right now, he could capture a lot more attention. But for now, there's an article out on it, and this is linked in the description. I would imagine the video is going to be pretty similar. So I'm not going to spoil this. You can go ahead and read it. But if the if the images load, let's go ahead and see if this opens in another tab. Not sure why we're having so much trouble with images loading today. But basically, he was watching the World Cup, and nothing here is loading. Oh my goodness. I'm going to let this load while I talk. He was watching the World Cup. This is just a picture of a screen right here, not even a screen cap. And let me zoom in, make sure I don't cover up anything. He was looking at this and was like, man, those typefaces, they're not very legible. When you're looking at like small little things on a screen, like names and numbers, you want to be able to read them. So this is Mexico versus RSA, which he said stood for something that he didn't know, and I also don't know. I think it was something in Africa. I don't want to say anything wrong. Oh, Jordan. No, that's different. Anyway, he was looking at the scoreboard. He was looking at it. He did a deep dive on this and figured out what typefaces were used, who designed them, stuff like that. And then he breaks it down and talks about how, like, why it's not working, why it's difficult to read, and what they could do differently to make it read better. And he's got the examples right here. So I think that this is worth checking out. He does a great job with user interface typography specifically, and makes really good suggestions and stuff. And he's got a good newsletter too, so go subscribe to that, but definitely go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look at this is a great example right here: compressed black versus condensed bold. And you can see how much easier it is to read the ones that are condensed over there on the right versus the compressed ones on the left. And that very compressed, just to pull this back up to the top here, they're super heavy compressed Mexico and RSA there. Gosh, I really wish I could. Let's do this real quick. RSA. Yeah, South Africa. I got it right the first time, guys. South Africa. But yeah, he's kind of showing off how you could do this better, and I think that he does a good job of that. So check out that, or if you don't have time to read for a few minutes, subscribe to his YouTube channel, because he said in 2 weeks he's gonna do a video on that topic. Okay, that's gonna be it for today's episode. I have a few things I'm going to talk about at the end here that aren't necessarily news, but just kind of like channel stuff. The first of those is that on Tuesday, I attended an info session for the OTF course. OTF? Yeah, the OTF course by Frank E. Blokland in the Netherlands. Legend of a type designer, founded the Dutch Type library. I've been reading Dutch Type. Sorry, it's on a different bookshelf right now. I've been reading Dutch Type, and his name comes up quite a bit in there. So it was an honor to meet him on Tuesday, even if just virtually. He has a course. I'm just going to go ahead and let this scroll through. He has a course on type design and type history and the technical side of typography. And I wanted to learn more about it. I attended like a 2-hour session, and even just that 2-hour session was very enlightening. I think there's another one coming up in September. So I've got this linked in the description, because the course doesn't start until I think September or October, closer to the end of the year. It's a 2026, 2027 course. I think it's about €1,000 to attend it, to take the course. I don't know that it's the right course for me, knowing nothing about type design, other than reading books and stuff. I'm not a type designer. I think someone who is a little bit further along in their type design career might benefit from this more. But I could be wrong. I'm going to hopefully reach out to some students that are taking the course this year, because it just started. The first course is going on right now. The second course is starting at the end of this year. It's brand new, so there's not really much to go on in terms of feedback or reviews or anything like that. Obviously, he's a legend, and that's the big draw to me. And I don't know if that's just ego, or if it would actually be the best course for me to learn. If I do end up taking this course at the end of the year, you can believe I will be covering. I will be letting you guys know how it goes. You'll see a lot of. You get a lot of details from me about what's going on, and you'll learn a lot more about it. But I just don't know if it is the right course for me. If you're taking this, if you've taken this, if you know anything about it, go ahead and let me know. You can send me an email, or you can comment or message me on Instagram. I am going to be considering this, but I think some of you might also think that this is kind of a cool course to take. I know €1,000 is not cheap, but it's one of the most affordable type courses, programs that you can possibly get right now. I know there are like weekend workshops and things like that are cheaper, but in terms of like real courses coming from like literally a legend in type design, a living legend, like these opportunities aren't like super common. So I think that it's worth checking out if you're interested in type design, and specifically the course, the way that he's going to be teaching it. It's a lot of pattern, which is different from how a lot of type design is taught, and as far as I know. But yeah, it was an interesting call, or interesting like video call, Zoom meeting, and I had a lot of fun. And I don't know, I'm interested to learn more about it, but I can't make any promises that I'm going to be attending or anything, but I did want to put it on your radar in case that's something that you are interested in checking out. The last thing here is FontBase. I don't think I actually have it listed there. Let me go ahead and just do it right here. You have seen me use FontBase a bunch on this channel. If you paid attention, anytime I need to turn on and off a font, I'm opening up FontBase. I've talked about this a bunch of times. I've also reported on FontBase. I was approached by FontBase founder Dominic. Let me check to pronounce your last name correctly. Dominic, shoot, I just don't want to say it wrong. Dominic Levitsky, Ukrainian. All of the FontBase team is in Ukraine. I was approached by him, I guess, a couple of weeks ago about potentially sponsoring the channel. I have had and turned down several other sponsors. At least 4 people have reached out that are in the type industry, and I've always told you guys, like, let me go ahead and turn on my face cam for this part. I've always told you guys, like, I've had a blanket kind of no one in the type industry can sponsor the channel, because I don't want to be like, I don't want there to be even a perception of I don't know what you would say, bias, because in my brain, I know that I can separate the two things. Money doesn't buy any influence from me. But I've always said no. Type foundries just feel a little bit different. Maybe I'll change my opinion on that at some point too. You'll never see me talk about, you'll never see me do a review that's also paid, because how could I possibly review something if I'm being paid to do it? That's crazy. But you guys have seen me use FontBase. You guys, for 54 episodes, I've been using this even before the channel existed. And I think that I'm going to try it out. We've talked about it. There are plans to sponsor the channel. We don't have anything, there's nothing concrete right now, but in the spirit of openness and getting feedback from you guys, I'm interested to see if there's any big complaints or anything about that. But I'm a fan of FontBase. I've been using it. I'll continue using it, even if this doesn't turn into a sponsorship. You guys have seen me use it for the last year and a half. Yeah, so I think the channel might have its first sponsor. We'll find out a little bit more details, but don't be surprised if there is like a quick shout out to FontBase. Obviously, when there's news about them, I'll still, do my typical like unbiased news and stuff like that. But there's always that thing where someone that you're reporting on now has given you money at some point in the life of the channel, and that's something that I've managed to avoid so far. But this is a business. I have to figure out how to monetize this in some way, and this is the first opportunity that's come to me that didn't feel as icky. I don't know like a better way to say it, but I was very open with Dominic, and I told him like I want to do it to test it and like see how it feels. I want to see how I feel being sponsored by someone in the industry, and maybe I'll feel fine, and maybe you guys will feel fine, and everything will be great, and we can do more things and have a better channel, a better objectives, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. But I did want to just like let you guys know ahead of time, so you're not surprised if you made it this far in the video. You're probably someone who might care about this, but I'm excited. It's a natural partnership in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes. I will update you obviously about any of this. But that's going to be it. Let me check my notes. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I will see you guys next Friday. We're going to be doing Friday and Saturday post coverage of Typographics 2026. So go get your free tickets for that, or you can pay for them. Go get your tickets for that. It's going to be really cool. Friday, Saturday. It's being put on by Cooper Union. Links are in the description. Nothing in today's episode is sponsored. None of the stories will ever be sponsored, no matter how many sponsors or how much money I get. I'm not going to be reporting the news and like have a sponsored news story. So that'll never change. Sponsored segments will be very clearly sponsored segments, no advertorial objectives. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I am going to be back next week, like I said, for Typographics. We'll be back the following week after that with traditional typography news, and we'll get into some deep dives because, man, we've got some really cool fonts that we've seen the last 2 weeks, and they deserve deep dives. So I have been Curtis Simpson, and this was Objective Typography News number 58. Bye.